Jamie Baker, senior airline analyst at JPMorgan. You guys just had a big event, Jamie. You're right. I mean, did this catch you off guard? Some of these, I couldn't believe how concerned they were and the kinds of slowdown they're talking about.
Yeah, look, there was no paucity of headlines emerging this week from the JPMorgan Industrials Conference. And the year, to echo Ed's comments, the year has gotten off to a tough start. We've had unusually bad weather in parts of the country that are not accustomed to dealing with unusually bad weather. We had a tragedy in Washington, a near tragedy in Toronto. Government spending, which is only, 2 to 3 points of demand, it's down 50%. So that's still a point headwind. And then, of course, the consumer confidence metrics that we're seeing in the Washington headlines, they're certainly not helping air travel demand. The good news, of course, the precipitous decline in fuel prices, helps offset, much of the weakness, not all of it. And there's still plenty of time this year, for the airlines themselves to course correct. And of course, for the Washington rhetoric to cool a little bit, confidence to come back. Still, good earnings prospects, at least for those airlines that are already on firm financial footing, like Delta.
Well, I was going to say we're showing American right now, so I'll be clear about that. Those shares are down 37% year to date. But Delta is the one I was going to ask you about. I appreciate Bastian's sort of forthrightness about this and saying these are all of the headwinds. But as an investor, you have to think, can it get any worse? And is it possible that these shares could rebound for the rest of the year? Or is that just wishful thinking if we could be in kind of a broader slowdown?
Look, I don't think that's wishful, thinking at all. I think Delta did a good job. About half of the $500 million, revenue deficit that they experienced in the quarter relative to their guide really does feel one-time in nature. And, just kind of playing with the earnings models right now, if fuel prices stay where they are, you could trim, maybe 3 points of demand off the remainder of this year and still arrive at the same earnings outcome for Delta. But to your question on, is this the time to buy? And, should you try to catch a falling knife? It's really remarkable. We have this proprietary trading rule called down 30 and 30. And really what it does is measure periods of capitulation. It works best with United. We haven't applied it to Delta. I don't see a reason that it wouldn't work. But there have been 29 instances that United has lost this much value this quickly. That's the important part. And if you had purchased shares each and every one of those 29 times, you'd have a 70% probability of greater than a 50% return, an average mean return over the next 180 trading days of 100%. And in those 30% of the cases where you didn't quite earn 50%, you still wouldn't lose money. So all we're really saying is that in the past, when the market has decided this quickly that it's this bad, the market has been wrong.
And that's, just to be clear, down 30% in 30 trading days, basically?
Correct.
Interesting.
Correct.
Okay. I almost want to ask just, anecdotally about Southwest. Major headlines about it dropping its free bags. It's changed a lot of the ethos that made it great until it wasn't great anymore. I'm just curious if you kind of like the turnaround that you're seeing there or think it adds to their challenges.
Well, no doubt that Southwest stole the show, this year when they presented alongside their competitors on Tuesday. And look, I've given Southwest a lot of grief over the years for having evolved into a legacy airline, but refusing to act like one. And there's a point where you just can't fit into your college jeans anymore, right? So we're actually thrilled with the changes that Southwest is making, both for them and for their earnings outlook, as well as for the industry. But there's a lot of execution risk. Okay, so, this is going to be a big turnaround for their passengers and even a big turnaround, and a big evolution for their flight crews. There is no Southwest flight attendant in history that has ever had to contend with a family that has received seat assignments away from their kids. Okay, so it's a steep learning curve. I think in markets that Southwest dominates, like a Baltimore, like a Nashville, they're going to do exceptionally well. This will be accretive from day one. But in markets where they're the second, third, maybe the fourth, maybe even the fifth largest player, I do think that they will cede market share to others. Take a market like Denver, where they only have 30%. I think United will earn more going forward because of these Southwest changes in Denver than had Southwest not made these changes. They really are leaving, with the bags flight free, they're leaving behind the one differentiating factor of their value proposition.